By show of hands, how many people here have suffered a significant personal loss in your life? 2/3. I'm fortunate enough to speak to groups of people from kids in high schools, where the average age is about 16, 17, 18, all the way up to nursing homes where the average age is about 95. So you would imagine in the nursing homes, everybody raises their hand when I ask that question. But what really surprised me is how many people raise their hand when I'm speaking at commencement speeches in high schools. Half the kids. Significant losses already by the time they're 18. So I want to tell you very, very briefly about a significant loss in my life. It was September 29th, 1998. It's a Tuesday morning, and I woke up, and I looked over in bed, and my wife was gone. I thought, that's strange. I wonder where Dana is. So just as I go to get up to see where she is, my little 4-year-old son, Connor, comes in. Where's Mommy? I don't know. So we walk out to the hallway, and we walk down going towards the stairs, and my 14-year-old son, Kyle, comes out. Same question, same answer. We don't know where she is. So we go down to the hallway, and we look downstairs. Here's Dana down in front of the washer and dryer, and she's slumped over, and she's face down, and frankly, it doesn't look very good. We run down there, I turn her over, I start doing mouth-to-mouth and chest compressions and all the things I learned through Red Cross and so forth. And for those of you that raised your hand and have had anything close to a traumatic event, and I'll guarantee you there's many of you in this room, one of the things that you notice is that time loses all measure. It doesn't really have the same frequency or length of time you would expect. Within a matter of minutes, firemen, medics, police, everybody was there. They're working on her, and they have the tubes, these things that go like this. Very surrealistic. And this little fire person comes up to me, says, Mr. Brooke, we've been working on your wife for 90 minutes. We still don't have a heartbeat. You want us to continue? And as your brain shuts down, it tends to send all its energy to your brain. It's about all it's got left, nothing else. You're numb throughout your body. But at least it can still compute a teeny bit. And I went 90 minutes. 90 minutes. No heartbeat. And I looked at the little fire person, and I said, no, you can stop. And she was dead. She was 38. The mother of both my children, the love of my life, the most unbelievable woman I'd ever met. But what made it challenging for me is that was not the first loss I'd experienced. That was 1998, September 29th. Before that, my mother had died when I was relatively young. My father had chosen to end his life. Friends in Vietnam, car crashes, fraternity brothers, all this had happened. And I thought, you know what? I am going to have to find something to help me cope. Sorry, I'm just getting over a cold. With this thing called life besides my faith. I need some tools that are going to help me. And that's how I discovered gratitude along the way. But I also realized a lot of that has to do with how you look at something. Every one of your faces, I make a big deal about it. I don't do PowerPoint. I like to look at every single person and connect. And I've done this from down to one person at a rest home where they didn't advertise I was coming, so it's just the two of us, up to 5,000 soldiers at Joint Base Lewis McChord, 2,500 each in the theater, all the way back to the back. They do some of the same exercise that I have with the little 3x5 card, the red paper, and some other things. But I want to connect with people, and I want to explain to them. It depends on how you look at it. I could look at that glass, and I could say half full or half empty, or I could do something different. So I'd like you to all stand up if you'd be so kind. Did they do yoga next door?
Yes.
That was cool. I love that. I was almost going to pop in. I said, oh, that's good. Take your right hand, raise it up as high as you can, start turning it in a clockwise manner. Now, let me mention to you, in the high schools, they have no idea what clockwise is. So I always have to go like this and kind of do like that and stuff. It's the kids of the world. So keep it going clockwise. Stretch out. There's always a few people. Just keep it going clockwise. It's okay. Now just start bringing it down. Keep it going clockwise. 12. Bring it.
I come from the bottom.
Oh, the highlight. We haven't even started. Anyway, bring it down to your eyes, nose, chin, chest, and waist. Now, what direction is it going?
Went the other way. The other way.
Who said that? Who said it went the other way?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Darren.
Darren. Good job, Darren. So it's going counterclockwise?
Told you.
Okay, you can sit down. And then see, whenever, there's always a few people that are seeing, like this young man right here. This guy's my favorite guy. Why does that happen? It's because it depends on how we look at it. Hold on, Darren. Just a second. Where did that happen? There's a little book for you, Darren. D-A-R-R-E-N? O-N? D-A-R-O-N?
It's weird.
You're covering it. Oh, D-A-R-O-N. I want to stop right here and tell you something that happened to me once. So, my new best friend, as you heard him say, Jared Sessler, has done a few books. So he's inspired me. So I've done a number of books, and we're going to do a gratitude journal when we get to that section, which is the pivotal key point of what I talk about, which is a gratitude journal. It's just the centerpiece of everything I do to help you keep focused on everything you have in your life versus what you don't have. When I was doing the talks with Darren, made me think of this because he said counterclockwise or the other direction. Because I'll say to people, what direction is it going now? They just all look at me. And they go, doesn't somebody want to say like Bueller, like the counterclockwise or something? And so I had this time when I was giving away a book. So I do all the cards and we pass them all out. And I'm going to have you guys sign up for a 1-minute video I do if you want. So I'll send the sheet around. But in this case, I do all the cards. And so there's a gal in the back and they all go, and I pull out her card. Sally Sprague, and they all clap, yay, Sally! And she comes up and says, I was on a stage, and so I walk up to her and I give her the book in front of about 250 people, and I go, here you go, here's a book for you, congratulations. She goes, great. She turns around to walk back to her seat, and I said, you know, if you'd like later, I'll sign that for you. She looks back and goes, that's okay. Never will I think I am Mishner or Hemingway or anybody else. Just a guy trying to get a little message across here. But it does depend on how you look at it. And that's the thing that I want to start off this talk with, embracing gratitude. Why am I talking about gratitude? What is it about gratitude? I just said gratitude helps you focus on everything you have versus what you don't have. It is a choice. Happiness is a choice. Life is a choice. Up, down, left, right, positive, negative. It's all a choice. We'll all come across people that tell us it's not. But it is. So I want you to grab that little 3x5. Embracing gratitude is number 1. It's so important. That's why I love that exercise, because that's what shows you. I keep every one of those in my briefcases in the other room. I've probably got a stack this big of ones where I've had to be the person that paired up with somebody. I've kept every one of those cards, and I read them about once a week. If I'm not feeling quite right, I look at how did somebody else view me? Well, how did somebody else view you? Well, now, you're the only person that lives there 24/7. So how can you use that? You can look at that card whenever you want. And when we get to the gratitude journal, yes, sir.
I wouldn't say you're intense, I'd say you're passionate.
Well, I get that word. What's your name?
You like what you're doing.
Thank you.
Believe in it.
What's your name?
Will.
Will. Thank you, Will. I'm very passionate about it. In fact, I tell people, I was talking to David earlier, we were talking about his future. Passionate, persistence, patience. You do those 3 Ps, you'll probably be pretty successful. But yeah, I'm very passionate about it, and I feel very blessed. I feel I was chosen to do this work, and yet it took me, as you'll find out in a second, 42 years to get to this place. So I wanted to be a speaker when I was 19, and that was a long, long time ago. Embracing gratitude. It's a lifestyle, it's a mindset, helping you focus on everything you have versus what you don't have. The second thing I want to talk about is it takes as long as it takes. Never, ever, 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 ever give up. I believe that was Winston Churchill. I wanted to give up so many times. Connor was 4 when Dana passed away. And about the time he was 4.5, 5, he wanted to play baseball. And he just couldn't play baseball. I had to hold him back in kindergarten. I had to hold him back in 1st grade. It's devastating to a father. My 2 sons that were 4 and 14 when she passed away, they're now 32 and 22. But he just wouldn't give up. He just never, ever gave up. Didn't matter what it was. So whether it was school and they had those individual education development programs, IED, whatever it was horrible. And I'd go talk to the teachers, your son's not going to make it. I said, we're not going to give up because the father's not giving up, and neither are the 2 sons after Dana or anything else. And then we could go around this room, and I'll pretty much guarantee you, every one of you could tell me something that was that significant personal loss. And one of the keys to why you're sitting here today is because you didn't give up. You just can't give up under any circumstances. So as you go through baseball, he tries out, and we do T-ball, and he's like, it's like coach pitch and then it's T-ball. And here's Connor, he keeps looking up at Dad, and he's like swinging up here, and he can't find the ball. I said, Connor, hit the ball. So he just keeps swinging and swinging. I go lower, and I'm standing over the side, and the coach is there. And he finally hits it so low, it hits the tee, and the ball dribbles forward. He goes, Dad, I got a hit! I went, it's not the tee, you're supposed to hit the ball. But Connor would never give up. He just kept trying. And you know what was so sad about it? As his parent, as a single parent, practices, PTAs, teacher meetings, games, going and getting uniforms, all that kind of stuff. I did all that kind of stuff for him. His older brother Kyle was a good ball player, but Connor wasn't. But I kept going. And I said, I've got to set this example for these two sons. But he never played. So he'd go to the game, he'd park, get to see him, and he'd never play. Finally, we get to May 31st, 2005, he's 11. And he'd been playing since he was 5. We're in a big game. It's the bottom of the 7th. He's still in the dugout like he always was. And there's two guys on 2nd and 3rd, and it's the bottom of the 7th, and they're down 7-6. And apparently there's no players left to bat. Because the guy goes, hey, is there anybody left in the dugout? The guy yells down, yeah, Brooke's here. So they said, send him up. So Connor comes walking out, and he's swinging the bat like he's Babe Ruth. Like he's had hits all his life. He's never had a hit. And he gets up to the plate, and he turns around, he looks up at the stands, and he goes, Dad, I'm up! Now, parents never hear their kids talk to them from the field, but they want to know they're there, but they don't want to make the connection. And so then I took advantage of my faith at that point, and I went, I'm going to bunt. Just, is there anything we can do here? Ball 1, ball 2, strike 2, ball, strike 1, strike 2, full count. Next pitch comes in, he just rips it down the third base line. Goes just inside the bag in the left field, the guy from 3rd comes in, scores, the guy from 2nd rounds 3rd, here comes the ball, the catcher catches it at the plate, and they crumble in the heat, and the ball pops out. And they win 8-7. And he's way out there on 2nd base, and I see him standing there like this, and he goes, Dad, I got a hit! And the entire team, used to not be able to tell the story without breaking up. The entire team goes out to 2nd base, puts him on their shoulders, still hits me. It carries him off the field. Because he never gave up. We sat on the bed that night, and I said, Connor, it was never, ever about baseball. It was the fact that you never gave up. You never, ever gave up. And I tell people that all the time. Embrace gratitude. It takes as long as it takes. Never, ever give up. Gratitude journals can help you with that, but it's such a powerful mindset. And so I wanted to be a speaker when I was 19, and all the rest of my life got in the way. And this is before I had my faith, but I didn't understand gratitude. I didn't understand focusing what I had versus what I didn't have. So as I'm going along in life, all these other things, these different detours keep happening to me. And I think, I've got to get with the program. So finally on December 27, 2011, so I've been doing this for about 5 years, I decided enough is enough. And I come home, it's 2 in the afternoon. Connor's sitting on the couch, he's 17 at the time. Excuse me. And he says, what are you doing home? Because I was managing the Lowe's at the time. I quit. You quit. He just looks at me, you quit. Looks up from the couch. You quit. I said, yeah. You quit being a store manager. I said, yeah. And he goes, well, that's just super, Dad. And he goes, I have a question for you. What are we going to do for food? And I said, well, remember when you didn't quit in baseball? Well, I'm not quitting either. And I said, I wanted to be a speaker since I was 19. When I found gratitude and I found different things, I said, you've got to at some point stand up and be accounted for. And the biggest thing you want to do is figure out who that person is in the mirror, because that's the most important relationship you'll ever have. But it is one of these things about having a mindset about it takes as long as it takes. After I quit Lowe's and I started doing this, it was challenging. A lot of my friends, I'm 67 years old, turned 67 about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm going to do this to 77, 87, 97. I don't really care, God willing. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's never too late to start over. Dave and I were having a great conversation. I was like, this is why I love looking at people, because sometimes they get, Dave didn't do this, but people look at me, please don't embarrass me. Please do not embarrass me. Let's send that look back. Do not embarrass me in front of this group. But we were talking about all good things. But if you have that mindset, if you embrace gratitude, if it takes as long as it takes, and if you never give up, you sort of want to go back sometimes to some of the thoughts you had when you were younger. John Lennon A lot of people don't know this. He was in 2nd grade, he was 8 years old. Probably in class somewhere in the neighborhood of this. They're going around the class, and they get to John Lennon. What do you want to be when you grow up? Excuse me, sorry. John Lennon looks at the teacher and he goes, I want to be happy. So the students kind of giggle a little bit. And the teacher points to John Lennon and goes, you don't get the assignment. John Lennon stands up and points to her and goes, you don't get life. Nice. And one of my books is called Happiness Starts with Gratitude. I don't know if you can be truly happy unless you're grateful, unless you really appreciate what you have. Now, I realize there's always people that come from different walks of life. I'm just looking to connect with as many people as I can to say this is a lifestyle and it's a mindset that can change you in so many incredible ways, because your happiness is dependent on your decision to be happy or not. Your choice to be positive or negative is your choice. Happiness, sadness, positive or negative, as I mentioned. There's some people that just program, but you know what? Just because it didn't work yesterday doesn't mean it can't work today. It's never too late to start again and say, you know, I'm going to walk out this door and I'm going to have a little different attitude. So when I talk about embracing gratitude, it takes as long as it takes, never give up. I look at people that are heroes of mine. Colonel Sanders, 63, when he started KFC. Ray Kroc, 57, there was a movie out about him recently. Mary Kay Ash, 58. It doesn't matter. Because people say, oh, it's easy for you to say, you're Mr. Speaker now. No, it doesn't. I was 62 when I started this. It doesn't matter. It's your journey. But I think it's important to have tools along the way that can help you. And if you have this gratitude mindset, and you really appreciate what you have, it's just so interesting how different you look at your lives. When I started doing these talks, I went into a lot more detail. Jared mentioned it too, about some of the tragedies and things that had happened to me. And I don't do that as much anymore. As I only want to say, look, these shoes, these loafers, have walked down a path that may be similar to yours. And I'm just saying, I'm not teaching from some book. These are the stories I've read. And I think these are real life stories that happened to me. So one of the biggest comments I get, we're going to all get journals when we do that portion. I'm going to have you guys write in them and see sort of the power of this. But a lot of times I'll have a table in the back and I'm selling my books, and people come up and talk to me. And they tell me these incredible stories. And in so many cases, it's that whole idea of just understanding the person in the mirror and not giving up. And if you stick with that, and then you have a journal that you get to write in for 5 minutes a day, it's just amazing what a difference it makes. But I think also, I always think it's interesting to think, how fast can we change? So any thoughts here? They say change of behavior. How long that takes? Anybody? Just
in a moment.
Good job, Jason. Any other guesses besides in a moment?
21 days.
21 days. I've heard that before. Will, what do you think?
I don't have an opinion.
I've
It'll
heard-
probably take too long.
I've heard 30 days. I've heard a lot of different things. Well, you know what, Jason, I think you're right. I think you can change in a moment. It's just a matter of whether you want to. So again, I always point to doors, the back of the auditorium, and you walk out here today. You can go left instead of right. You can take a whole different path. If something I said makes sense, or it's a gratitude journal or a mindset, it's just that easy. I worked at Nordstrom for a long time. And I remember when you don't get promoted there, or you get promoted, but you don't interview, they just pick you. So I was selling suits, and I got to be the manager of suits in Northgate, and then later the manager downtown, and then the buyer, then store manager for 3 different stores. And it's just an interesting way to look at people. They ask everybody else about you, but they don't ask you. Supposedly they get a much better picture of who you are, asking other people. So I'm the manager at Northgate, suits. I got a little suit on, I got a little briefcase, and a little starch, and I just all like. And I start winning all the contests. In my department's the men's suit is the #1. I'm calling people, Dave, come and buy a suit, Jared, come and get a suit, Nick, come and get a gift for Jared. And I was doing anything I could. And one day I'm in the lunchroom. This guy comes up, he's a maintenance guy, and he goes, "Are you Dave Brooke?" I said, "Yeah." "Can I tell you what the story is around here on you?" I go, "Sure." He goes, "I'm just going to tell you straight up. Everybody thinks you think you're pretty hot shit." "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, hot shit." Well, I shouldn't say that. I went, "Wow." And he goes, "But let me tell you what makes it really tough for you. You don't talk to anybody. You just come in, you got your little suit on, you get your little briefcase, and you just go to suits. You don't talk to me because you're kind of better than everybody else. You check the numbers to see who was top department yesterday. It's usually men in suits." And so I said, "Well, thank you." And I shook his hand. His name was Steve. And I said, "Thank you. Thank you for having the guts to call me out on that. Most people probably wouldn't." And I just turned and walked out that door, and I said, you know what? How fast can I change? Jason said, I can change in a moment. And I noticed the escalators go like this, they crisscross when you go up the typical North Shore. And as I'm taking my little briefcase and going to the suit department, I noticed the escalators didn't go any slower if I said hi to people. And I started waving, hi Will, hi Michael, hi Jared, hi Nikki, hi Chris, hi David, hi Christine, hi Jason, hi Darren. And all of a sudden the whole world changed, and I had a lot more people connect with me and have this mutual respect. But how fast did I change? So that's why I tell that story, because it is, like Jason says, in a moment. And there are so many people, well, this takes a long time. I need, you got to turn an oil tanker, it takes, all this sort of stuff. It takes a long time. But I think that's how fast. I think you can change in an instant. So I have this buddy of mine named Bob. I'm kind of like getting to know Jared already. One of the things I noticed about him right away is that you don't have to have anything, but it's nice when you have the confidence that somebody will tell something like it is, and is not afraid to say to you, you may want to consider this, or you may want to consider that, and isn't intimidated. I get told a lot I'm intense. I've been told my entire life I'm intimidating. I'm not that tall, 6'1", 6'1.5", whatever, but I've been in a lot of jobs where I've had power over people, and I sure try not to be. I sure try to overkill or kill them with kindness, if you will. But people will intimidate you by your age, your height, your money, your position, your power, all those different types of things. And I have this friend that's been a friend for years, and he says to me, you're really struggling. This was some years after Dean passed away. You're really struggling. He says, I think you need to get a gratitude journal. And I went, well, what's a gratitude journal? So he tells me, and he says, it's a little book that you write in every single day about what you're grateful for. And by the way, let me just take a moment for an advertisement. Mr. Sessler. You can all thank Mr. Sessler for these gratitude journals, because I think we owe a little applause here for And before we even go any further, thank you for that, Jared, too. Most of the time when I do talks, I'd say a third of the time they buy the journals, and another 2/3 of the time people come up and buy them from me afterwards. They sell for $15 a piece, and there's something amazing about people that pay for them, that they seem to write in them. And people that get them given to them don't seem to write in as much. So you have been gifted with this journal on behalf of Jared and HomeTask Network, and I would just ask that you at the very least give it a shot, and we're going to do an exercise in a minute so you see how it works. But at least try it and be thankful that it was given to you, because there's always something about skin in the game that seems to make a difference. There's some little instructions at the beginning, but it's mostly about a page for you to write every single day for the 5 minutes about what you're grateful for, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you look at the top of it, in the upper left-hand corner, there's a little saying. It's quite small, but it's right here. It says, if you think about it, it's like a dream. If you talk about it, it inspires you. But if you write about it, it empowers you. I was doing a talk up in the San Juans at Friday Harbor. And of course, I always keep my phone on, and I can feel it buzzing. Well, I can't be checking texts and things while I'm talking. And it buzzes, and I have a friend of mine that says, Robin Williams just died. He took his own life. And he says, Robin Williams just died, comma. I wonder if it would have happened if he had a gratitude journal. It was right while I was doing a talk, like literally in the middle. It's only a half-hour talk, but it was just right in the middle of it. And of course, I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you that when you write something down, it does empower you. It's so different. There's all these studies. I see everybody's got the laptops. I have a MacBook and so on. We got tablets and we got phones. We have all this kind of stuff. This thing is not bad. It's not bad, but they've been proven. I've got enough documentation now to prove this. There's nothing like writing. And I still sit, every day I write my gratitude journal, every single day. And as I'm writing, and I'll see people in restaurants, and, I mean, you can almost read them, wow, that guy's like writing in something. What a concept. Maybe he can't afford a tablet. I mean, it's funny. It really is. And so I think to myself, when it plants it, you can go back. I can go back. I point to Jared a lot because that's the reason I'm here. And he's become a good friend so quickly. I can go back and look at the day I met him and see what I wrote. And sometimes even more the next day, because one of the little lines in there is the highlight of the day. And I'll bet you quite a bit of money the highlight of my day the next day from yesterday was meeting him. And you can go back and look at that, and it plants it, and you think, boy, how did I get through that day? There's days that are tough days, and the gratitude journal will help you so you can flip back and look at it because you wrote in it, and see what you wrote to get through that particular tough time. And it refreshes your memory and it can really help. So here's how groups commit suicide every single day. Over 7,500 every single year, active and retired. And so I get to go down there and maybe give them just something, just one tool in the toolbox. All I'm ever looking for, we've all seen a lot of speakers. I was telling Chris, I didn't get a chance to listen to much what Chris said, but I try to listen to as many speakers as I can. And I think a lot of us are in the same boat, and we're just trying to give you a tool in the toolbox. And it doesn't matter which tools you use, or use different ones, or this one, or whatever, but they're tools. This is a tool. And if you give this tool a chance, it's amazing what it can do for you. It's helped me in so many ways. And as an example, I was out, now that you know the number, I was out at Burlington Chamber doing this. 200 people is a big chamber. And that day I was doing the talk, I woke up, I was at 2. So now that you get an idea of how I use the numbers, I was so depressed I couldn't even explain it. And I thought, well, you know what, pal? You better practice what you preach. So I grabbed my gratitude journal, went to Starbucks, and wrote in it like I do every morning. And I even wrote in there some things like, I'm just glad I had a bed to sleep in, a hot shower, the boys are doing great, I'm breathing air. Just some basic, we forget these things. And that was nice. It bumped me up to about 4 or 5. Then I went up to Burlington, and I still wasn't quite myself, Mr. Passionate, Mr. Intense, but I did the best I could. And afterwards, these people come up and they stand in line and they buy the books. It's thrilling to me, and I get to sign them and say hi to them. And this gal, because she's just bawling, the tears were coming down her cheeks. And she goes, my name is Alice. And I said, I'm David. And she goes, you just changed my life. And that's the first time I'd ever heard that. She says, can I give you a hug? And she gives me a big hug, and she goes, I said, well, can you tell me why or what? So she goes into detail about her 2 sons, difficulties and so forth in her life. And she says, I want to get a couple, I want a journal for myself, I want to get a couple for my kids. And so I signed them, and she got them and everything, and I went out to my car, and I got in my car up in Burlington, and I lived in Buffalo at the time. And I sat in my car, and I realized I was at 9.5. I'd gone from a 2 to a 4 or 5 by writing my journal to a 9.5 by changing a life. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, I didn't do some cocaine or drugs or all this other nonsense that's out there. Everybody has a way to cope. I'm not judging people, I'm just saying that this is a healthy coping mechanism in a world of a lot of deadly and destructive ones. And so when you give this journal a chance, I think I was telling, was it Christine or was it Nikki? And I was out front about how the reason it says the Brooker on there is that's the nickname I had my entire life. From the Brooker. And now I need a dose of the Brooker. Mr. Energetic, Mr. Enthusiastic, Mr. Inspirational, I guess. Now I call myself the Gratitude Guy, so I've sort of moved to that. But these same fraternity brothers that always needed a dose of the Brooker now call me, and they're all depressed and they're all down. And I say, have you written your gratitude journal yet? And they go, no, and I hang up on them. I just hit the off button. And they call me back, that was rude. And I go, write in your journal and then call me. It's going to make that big of a difference. So I think besides the gratitude journal, one of the most important things I talk about is, actually, you know what, let's finish with a number. I want you to just take a quick look and reread, excuse me, reread what you wrote. Just read it real fast in your gratitude journal. It could be the highlight of your day too, but just maybe some of the notes that you made. You all had 2 or 3, about 3 minutes to write in there. And here's what I want you to do. After you read that, really plant that. Don't think about anybody else in this room except you and your gratitude. And what you wrote about, maybe the highlight of your day, something that was really cool that happened this morning or yesterday, and all those things you're grateful for. And I want you to now pick a number that is now your daily number, and I want you to put it up where it says daily number on the left-hand side, the right-hand side of the left side page. And it could be the same number, it could be different. Well, after reading that, now write your daily number up there in the book, left-hand page, right-hand side, and put your number up there. And so my question is, as you're writing that number, by show of hands, how many people's numbers stay the same? Okay, you. How many people's number went up? Okay, about half and half. That's a 3-minute version of what writing a gratitude journal will do for you. So can you imagine if you do that every single day, and all that does is help you focus on, and if that impacts your number, you saw what happened to me when I was up at Burlington. That's how powerful that can be, besides the fact it goes back to something you could reference as well. Find yourself, 5th module. Find yourself, find your passion, find your purpose. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. The most important relationship now. You understand we have our Creator, and we have our relationships we have with Christ, and there's different, I'm just saying, at or near the top should be the relationship you have with yourself. It could be 1A, 1B, however you see it, it's fine. But that person you see in the mirror, if you have a great relationship with that person, your whole life works better. I'm just telling you, personally, professionally, everything that you do, it works better. So let's just say, I told you we weren't going to talk about your number, but let's just say you put down a 6.5. So here's the question you would ask. To yourself, to the person in the mirror, not me, not your partner, not anybody else. I think most people probably want to be a 9.5 or a 10. That would be a safe assumption, I think. So if you're a 6.5 or a 7, I'll guarantee you a couple of you probably put that number down. One simple question. What has to happen to go from a 6.5 to a 9.5? I don't have the answer for you, you do. That's what I do as a coach, is I help people to get that shift to go from 6.5 to 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9. You know what that is, but that's where you'll see the difference. So that relationship you have with yourself, I cannot emphasize that enough. Here's a $20 bill. Now if I just walk over it, either one of the two Daves, or Will, or Josh, or Jason, or whoever, Dorian, how many people, if I just gave this to you, would want this $20 bill? Show of hands. There's always one or two that don't raise their hands, which I don't quite understand, but clearly I didn't make it. There's no strings attached, I just give it to you, you take it. So if I do this, it's all crumpled up. How many people want it? Yep, thank you. If I do this, give it a couple good stomps, pick it up, smooth it out. How many people? Thank you, Jason. How many people still want it? That would be right. Thank you.
Blow your nose in it, I'll still take it.
Jason will be appearing 2 shows nightly, 8 and 10 o'clock. Tip your waitresses. It comes on directly after me. So after that, if I look at Andrew Jackson, and I look at Andrew Jackson and go, you know what, Andrew Jackson, you're a piece of crap. You're worthless. You don't even deserve to be on this planet. You know what Andrew Jackson says? Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Speaker Man. You can say whatever you want about me, and I'm still worth $20. And he would be right. All this stuff, he's still worth $20. So as I look through the eyes of every single one of you individuals today, why is it we'll let people crush us, step on us, tell us we're worthless, don't deserve to be on the planet, and yet, maybe worst of all, devalue us from 20 to 15 to 10 to 5 to 0 in worst case, and make us feel like we're worthless. And yet it doesn't seem to impact Andrew Jackson. I will submit to you, being grateful will keep that from happening. The better relationship you have. How is it that somebody else can crawl into your brain and rent space in your brain? How does that happen? It doesn't happen with him. So all those things that happen to him, he's still worth $20. That's the power of having that great relationship with yourself. And I just think it's so important because self is so important. I'm down in Reno about 5 or 6 years ago. And this buddy and I used to go 2 or 3 times a year. We do the slot machines, we play blackjack and craps and things like this. And this was in the days when the coins still came down in the machines. And I'm playing, doing something, I hear this racket over here and the things, the bells are ringing. His name was Rand, R-A-N-D. And you look over, he's kind of just behind where Dave was, about 10, 15 feet away. Brooker, I just won $1,000 and I just put in $1. And the coins are just crashing down and everything. And he says, come here. So I run over and see him and let's high five. He's high fiving me. I'm buying dinner tonight. He's just like, so, I'm so excited and I see the $1,000, ka-ching, 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 and it just keeps coming down. But then it hit me. I was so happy for him. But I would have been just a teeny bit happier if it was me. And I don't think I was just being selfish. I just would have been. I mean, I was happy he's going to buy dinner and all this kind of thing. But that's what happens when you find out the connection with yourself and how you connect with yourself. It took me 40 years to find my passion. People always say, well, you found your passion, how about me? I tell people, there's all sorts of tricks you can do. What if you had every day you opened up your banking statement on your phone, your banking thing, and it said $1 million. Every day there's another million in there. 10 million, something you couldn't possibly use. What would you do? What would you be passionate about? People say, well, you've clearly found your passion. Well, yeah, I have. It took me 40 years. It took me a long time. Because I think if you find yourself, you find your passion, I think you'll find your purpose. And that's something I don't want to keep embarrassing. Hopefully not. But Dave, we were talking about his film. It's all about how do you get to your passion. Sometimes it's not a straight line. It's a curved line. But along the way, if you're grateful, if you write in a gratitude journal, if you keep a great connection with yourself, you will have the staying power to get there. Because it does not come right away. And one of the things that I've noticed is that, and I think you would probably agree with this, how do you appreciate up unless you've seen down? Well, sometimes down is taking a while to get to where you want to get, and seeing some of the heartache and some of the things that you would find. There was a buddy of mine, Michael, talked to him yesterday. We're at a lunch one day. Actually, I think it was at Columbia Tower Club. He takes out a piece of paper and writes down, David Brooke, $1 million, Michael Hartzell. Hands it to me. Here you go. And he's just about to hand it, he says, I can make this good. He actually asked for the money. He goes, I can make this good. He hands it, just as I'm going to get it, kind of grabs it back. I'll give you this check on one condition. I said, what's that? He says, you have to stop being the gratitude guy, effective today. And I took about...
How much? Sorry, how much?
2 shows nightly. $1 million. I took about between a second and 2, and I said, no. Impulse, unless you could sit down and have the kind of conversation that Jared and I had when we met, and so forth, and just really get in depth. And you just don't know sometimes the pain, and we see the exterior of somebody, we don't know what's going on inside. So something like that was very, very cool. So thank you for doing that. Sharing gratitude. Embracing gratitude, it takes as long as it takes. Embracing gratitude, rather, it takes as long as it takes. Never give up. Make room for gratitude. Clear out your brain. Understand the power of a gratitude journal. I have people say, well, I don't write my gratitude journal as much. That's fine. I'm just telling you, it's a tool that works. I'm grateful to Jared for purchasing these for everybody here. And as I said, I noticed that when people tend to purchase and they write in more, I have a feeling this group's going to be a little more committed to it, which I really appreciate. It can make such a huge difference. As I said, find yourself, find your passion, find your purpose. We talked about that. And lastly is sharing gratitude. There's something about sharing that makes things so much more powerful. You think about the things that have happened to you in your life when you were able to share with somebody. I've always been kind of, I never do dope, I never did any drugs, I never smoked or did drinking. It just wasn't the choice I wanted to make. But I was a daredevil, still am, even at this age. I learned how to fly. Excuse me, been a pilot for a long time. Got a hydroplane, my brother, we raced our hydroplane, became national champions. Skydive, hot air balloons, gliders, hang gliding, all that kind of thing. Then I decided one day I wanted to skydive. So I get the fraternity brothers, I reference these fraternity brothers every so often from the University of Washington. So I'm generally the ringleader, so I make the appointment to get the skydiving things settled on Saturday. So there's 10 of us. So I make it for Saturday, it's like Monday, so I've confirmed with all 10 of them, we're going Saturday at 10 o'clock. So Monday or Tuesday, Monday a couple guys back out, and then on Tuesday, I get a call from a couple more. I could hear it on the phone. I go, are you okay? No, I don't think I can make it on Saturday. Comes to Friday, another guy backs out. So finally, it's Saturday at 10 o'clock. I walk up, I was telling Jared or Dave, I'm just one of these, or maybe Christine, I can't be late. I always have to be early, so I'm like 9:30, and I walk up to the counter. The guy goes, can I help you? I go, yeah, I'm here for an appointment. He looks at his little thing. Oh yeah, Brooke, party at 10. He looks over the shoulder, my shoulders, and he goes, where is everybody? Where are all your friends? And I went, I don't have any friends. And he kind of just laughs. So I went by myself. Nobody showed up. And so they take a little picture. How many people skydive here at all? No. So it was a static. You have no? What'd you do?
I did it in France, in Europe.
Oh, cool. Was it tandem or was it the one where they open the...
By myself.
Where they opens the thing? You did? Yeah, that's cool. And so they take a picture of you. So they take right in there, you jump out, and then this string, this one, the static lamp opens up to shoot. And I got the picture, it's a big glossy one of me. And I'm all scared, kind of going like this, I think I'm gonna die. And so then I get the picture, they take, here you go. And they go at the counter, here's your picture. I go, thanks. Walked in my car by myself. I get in my car and I just drive home. There's nobody but to share it with. And I use that occasionally in churches where we'll have the big screens, I'll put that picture up. Because sharing gratitude is so powerful. Write these things down, you can. But this is something I started doing recently about the takeaways, because when I would sign books, I used to kind of be trying to sign, I'm grateful for you, or so be grateful every day, Jared and David and everything, and then I try to write and talk at the same time. And I decided the best thing I wanted to find out from somebody is, what was your number one takeaway? I will often decide, depending on, it doesn't matter the size of the speech, from 20 minutes to 2 hours to all day, what was your number one takeaway? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to get smart and at least give you what I think are the most important 7 takeaways. And again, if you want to write it down, you can, it's up to you. But I think maybe the number one is the most important relationship you'll ever have, is that when you have with yourself. And how you manage that, how you drive that every single day, how you assist that. I just tell you from my experience, everything in your life works better if you have a good relationship with the person in the mirror. And I would ask too, being in the business world, you guys are in the business world, try not to complain. My father was someone, I told you, committed suicide. I would say, good morning, Dad. And he'd go, what's good about it? And what a thing for 5 children to have. What's good about it?
Yeah, I got that from my dad.
Yeah, and it's just, maybe it's the generation, I'm not sure, but I was sitting there talking to him one day before he passed away. He died when I was in my 20s. We're having coffee long before Starbucks, and I said, you know, Dad, all you do is complain. You just complain all the time. And he looks at me and he says, you know, David, did it ever occur to you I just might like to complain? And I just sat there for a couple seconds, and I said, yeah. Did it ever occur to you I may not want to hang around you then? And people would chuckle about that once in a while, but I thought, why do I want to hang around with somebody who's negative? I know it's my dad, and then he ends up taking his life. I did that thing. If you don't have a good relationship, whatever numbers I'm not going to make anybody raise your hands, but for whoever's a 4 or 5 or 6 or a 7, if you're not a 7, 8 or a 9 or a 10, what are you doing about it? Several times, don't ever give up. You do not know. The darkest hour is right before dawn. You do not know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's amazing how many times I look at my phone. I've struggled so hard to build this business, and I'll look at my phone. We'd like you to be the keynote speaker for so-and-so. And I go, oh, gosh. Didn't know that 5 minutes ago. So the longer you hang in there, the better. The most important days, I talked about the rear view mirror and the windshield. The most important days are today and tomorrow. Yesterday really isn't very valuable, except maybe to teach you a lesson. You keep putting your finger on the burner, you probably want to stop doing it. Nobody else can help you. But if you keep touching it, you keep burning it, you keep getting mad at yourself, you may want to stop touching it. But mainly, learn the lesson from yesterday, but really focus on today and tomorrow. Those are the 2 most powerful days you have. We talked about the daily number. Now again, I'm going to tell Dave, I hope he doesn't get mad at me when I say this, but he talked about being in film, and I said, you know, do something every single day, every single week, to work towards that goal, whatever that means. So do something every single day to work towards a 10. I have a lot of days I'm a 10, but I've had a number of days where I'm a 2 or a 3. And my goal is just to get to 4 or 5, and that's why I mentioned that example in my journal. But do something every day that helps you work towards that 10. Could be professional, could be personal, could be physical, mental, emotional, but something. And I keep saying this over and over again, it's just such a theme of what I talk about. That gratitude journal, when you keep focusing on what you have, and I'll tell you now that you've written it, the number one thing I write in my journal every single day is I cannot believe how grateful I am for my health. I've lost so many people in my life that have passed away, some of diseases, others of their own causes. But I am so grateful for my belief. I'm so grateful for my health. I'm so grateful for my 2 wonderful sons who are both doing incredible. So it's how you fill that in. You may not have kids, maybe something completely different. But do something every single day towards a 10. set goals and follow through. I didn't talk about this a lot today, but it's pretty hard. As I mentioned, I'm a pilot. A lot of people don't realize this. One of the toughest things about being a pilot is not flying an airplane. Did you say that? No. Thanks. I have that coffee cup back. No, landing is. You and I are talking afterwards. Can we potentially petition him to be a friend?
8 and 10.
It's navigating. Taking off is not too bad. Landing is hard. Jason's right. But navigating is the tough part. Because if you get up there, things look completely different if you're not a good navigator. So you set a goal. Here's how I'm going to get there, and then follow through. I have become, as best I can, the king of follow through. Every email, every text, everything I answer, people all the time say, well, how come this didn't happen? We didn't follow through. Well, I figured he'd call me, she'd call me, this would happen, and so on and so forth. I talked about the 3 most important words in listening. Tell me more. Learn to listen is the first thing, and then listen to learn. You can't learn anything when you're talking. I was back there talking to Dave, and I was trying to fire questions at him left and right to find out what he's doing, where he's been, where he's going. Fascinating story. Learn to listen, and then listen to learn. Tell me more. And I think the last thing I would conclude with is the golden rule in sharing gratitude. Anytime you get something that is powerful, it's so much more powerful when you share it. You saw in some of those responses you got from your text. You heard me talk about the parachute skydiving situation. I was talking to the little girl out front, giving me some coffee. She used to work at McDonald's. How rude people were to her. I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. If you're nice to people, if you practice the golden rule, if you treat people the way you would like to be treated, it's amazing how much better your life works. And then if you take your gratitude that you now have and you share it, it can change your life, it can transform your life, and in some cases, it can save your life. I believe I would not be here today if it wasn't for gratitude saving me. Thanks a lot.